This is a KMZ Helios 44-2 with a 000. The internet says this is the best one you can buy. They say it's reserved for Communist Party leaders, built to a higher standard than anything else that came out of the factory. Forum posts says it, blogs say it, YouTube comments say it. eBay sellers charge a premium for it, and camerawiki.org has it documented. If it's on the reference website, then it must be true. For filmmakers and video creators looking for a Helios 44-2 to use on the job, this one is the one collectors and YouTube comments will tell you to get. So I got one, and I'm going to open it up. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly if that reputation is true. I'm going to test sharpness and contrast, backlight and flash, the focus mechanism and the aperture blades, and I'm going to do it in a way you won't find in any other Helios 44-2 reviews. Better image quality to me comes down to one thing. Does the image separate the subject, or does it look flat and muddy? Contrast, that's what creates that separation. So let's start there. This is lens A and this is lens B. One of these is the KMZ serial 00. The one the internet says was reserved for Communist Party leaders, built to a higher standard. The other is a common Helios 44-2, made in the same era with no special markings. Based on image quality alone, which one is the better lens? Most reviews would stop here. They would point to the better image, name the lens, and call it proven. If A looks sharper, it must be the better lens. If B looks flat, blame it on Soviet quality control, factory logo, or the year of production. But here's what those reviews aren't telling you. This milky layer is haze. Grease inside the lens evaporates over time, and this is where it ends up. We have seen it on glass windows. Most Helios 44-2 out there have this, and this high quality copy is no exception. It is a common problem in all Helios 44-2, and I will explain the reason later. So before I run any test, I clean every lens element individually. Each unit gets fully disassembled. It's the only way I know the result I'm seeing is actually coming from the lens, not the result of evaporated grease. This is the same lens before and after. The contrast improved by 10.2%. This is exactly the same lens shot with the same settings. The only difference we are testing is the real clean glass. This is how the same two lenses look after a proper clean. Now we are looking at a fair test. If the 000 truly means better optical quality, it should be visible right here, right now. The luma value at this center position reads 54 for lens A and 49 for lens B, which tells us one lens has 1.96% better contrast than the other. So does that match what you picked at the start? But sharpness and contrast is only half the picture. Backlight is where a lens really gets exposed. I personally love shooting backlit. It creates this beautiful rim light separating the subject, and who could say no to this flash? There's a quality to it that's hard to replicate any other way. But backlight is also where a lens shows its limits. Modern lenses are coated specifically to handle backlight. It minimizes flares, control ghostings, and keep the shadows clean. So if the 000 was truly built to a higher standard, reserved for Communist Party member, we should see that here. Because better coating equals better backlight control. That's the logic. I set up a simple test by placing a backlight just off the frame, Aim at the back of the head with some spill light hitting the lens directly. I didn't use any field light in this test. I want the shadows as deep as possible, so any difference between the two lenses is obvious. And just like the previous test, both lenses are fully clean before we start. This is lens A and this is lens B. A lens with superior coating would show cleaner shadows, less ghostings and fewer artifacts. If the 000 means what the internet says it means, one of these should stand out right now. I'll extract the luma value at the same point in both frames. Lens A reached 25 and lens B reached 25. That's a difference of 0%. Is that the result you expected? So age and condition matter more than the serial number, at least when it comes to the image quality. But what about the mechanics? Let's find out. When people talk about build quality in a lens, they usually mean the focus ring. If it turns smoothly, it is well built. If it is stiff or the resistance is uneven, then it is lower quality. That's how most people think about it. For me, it's simple than that. If I can't pull focus smoothly, I'm going to miss the shot. That's what actually matters when shooting for client work. So I have a test for this. I call it the pinky test. If I can turn the focus ring with my pinky finger, it passed the test. If I can't, then it's too stiff. This is the most promising result I've seen so far. The focus ring is smooth all the way through. I don't notice any stiff spots. So maybe this is where the 000 finally proves itself. If it is better built with stricter quality control, it would make sense that it shows up here. But I want to know what's actually making it smooth, even after half a decade. Did a Soviet engineer come up with a secret sauce? I'm going to find out. This is what's inside. I can see two tones of colors. The one in brown is the original Soviet grease, which is over 50 years old. The one in gray is modern lithium grease, applied on top. So someone serviced this lens at some point and didn't remove the old grease. They just slapped a layer of grease over it. The ring feels smooth, but this isn't good servicing. This is a shortcut. Every Helios 44-2 I've opened has one of two problems. Either the factory applied too much grease to begin with, or a lens technician added fresh grease on top of old grease without removing what was already there. This high quality copy has both. Grease breaks down and evaporates slowly onto the glass over time. That milky layer we cleaned off in the first test, that's this. So you may ask, why does it matter if it works? And that's a fair question. For me, it comes down to this. If I could leave the old grease in, apply a fresh layer on top, and hand you a lens with a smooth focus ring, it would pass the pinky test. But I've just showed you the consequence of taking a shortcut. When I service a lens, the old grease comes out completely. I apply a thin layer and spread evenly with a brush. The problem with excessive grease is that it migrates, attracts dust and dirt and evaporates onto the glass. That's the standard I hold on to, not because I charge more for it, because it's the way I know the lens will actually last. Before I continue, I've had photographers reach out asking if they could buy the same lens serviced to the same standard shown in this video. The answer is yes. The two exact lenses in this video are available. You can find the link in the description. There's one more thing I want to check. And this one is easy to spot, even for someone without any experience. Oily aperture blades. I find this all the time in Helios 44-2 lenses, regardless of the factory logo. The blades still open and close, the aperture still works, so most people dismiss it as cosmetic issue that doesn't affect image quality. But oil on the aperture blades isn't a problem. It's a symptom of a bigger problem most people never find out. So the question is, would a 000 built with a stricter quality control be in better condition than the rest? Oil on the blades. It's visible and easy to confirm, but I want to see what's happening further inside. There's oil coating the inside of the barrel, and here as well, the lens element. It is the same staining we've been tracing this entire video, back to the same source. This is degraded grease breaking down over decades, migrating and contaminating everything around it. The 000 didn't beat physics. No Helios 44-2 can, but what I can do is this. This is what a complete service looks like. Lens barrel cleaned completely in alcohol, aperture blades removed and cleaned individually, and the aperture ring grease replaced completely. That last part isn't an extra feature to charge more for it. In fact, of all the Helios 44-2 I come across, I have never seen a unit that has been serviced this way. And this is the reason I mentioned back at the start. The haze on the lens elements, it all comes from the same place. 50-year-old Soviet grease. Think of it like an oil change. When a car hits 10,000 kilometers or 6 months, you change the oil. Not because the engine has failed, but because engine oil has a lifespan. Leave it too long and it damages the whole system. The lens is no different. You already know what separates a Helios 44-2 that performs from one that just looks good on paper. It's the difference between a gamble and the one guaranteed to work. We are talking about contrast and sharpness the way the lens was designed for, mechanics that are reliable now and built to stay that way, and the lens you don't have to think about on a paid job. I know that feeling, that anxiety, the voice at the back of the head, when you know the lens might not perform at 100% on a job, because I've been in the same situation throughout 15 years of shooting client work. That's exactly why I built this for filmmakers. Each unit is made to order, and every unit I send out goes through everything you saw in this video. If that's the lens you are looking for, you can find the link in the description.